Hi everybody, it's Win. Hey guys, it's Daniel. Hi, it's Kim. Hello everyone, it is Lido. Hello everyone, it's Ed. Hi everybody, it's Kit. And welcome to another video by the Entropy System. Hi everybody, it's Win. Hey everybody, it's Kim. The topic for today's video was suggested and voted upon by our patrons. If you are interested in becoming a patron and shaping the content of our channel, a link to our Patreon is in the description below. This month, our patrons were interested in knowing what our personal self-care looked like. And to be honest, most of us don't have external world self-care, like in response to negative things that we're dealing with, because we don't front enough, or they don't front enough. The ones who are regularly out, which right now is Win and myself, are the ones who have to deal with like keeping the chemicals in the body happy and balanced. Since most of my headmates don't actually come out enough to have outer world forms of self-care, this video is just going to include myself and Kim. We each have different forms of self-care depending on if we're going through stress or anxiety or depressive episodes, so we're going to each talk about how we handle those three things. I'll be straight up, I don't do well with depression. Depression is a really tough one because, you know, sometimes you just don't have the forks to do anything. I did a video talking about fork theory. If you do want to watch that video, it's going to be one of these corners. If you don't want to watch that video, the idea is that you only have so many forks. You can pay forks to do something and you'll get more forks back. But if you don't have enough forks up front, then you can't do that thing to make you feel better. And some days you just don't have any forks. Your depression is too big. You can't pay forward to do anything that will make you feel better. I'm not great about getting out of that, but I can sometimes partner up with Win. Because one thing that like really gives me energy and helps me to overcome like just crushing depression in other areas is cosplay. So if Win can get us, use her coping skills to get us to the point where like we have enough energy for me to do makeup and like put on a wig, then I can bring us the rest of the way up by just like designing new characters or thinking up new cosplays or stuff like that. Cosplay is one of my absolute favorite hobbies. It's silly and it's fun and it lets me like get out my emotions in creative ways. You know, I can make a really happy character or a very angsty character, and I like creating stories for them and stuff. So it's just, it's a fun way to let off steam, but you have to have energy to get into cosplay. So if we're gonna tackle depression that way, Win and I have to team up. So I have two things that I do that are very, very low effort that almost always replenish me to some degree. One is I listen to my favorite podcast. That is not another D&D podcast. It's a D&D comedy with comedians that I love, and I've been following their comedic career for years now, and now they're all together, and it's a very charming thing, and listening to them have their adventures and laugh together really puts me in a good mood. The other thing, and this is probably going to be odd, but doing the dishes really helps me fight depression and gives me some forks to use later in my day. There's just something about the hot water running on my hands and like slowly taking my time and making the kitchen a cleaner place. Usually if I'm depressed, I'll start with the dishes and then I'll move on to cleaning the countertops, and every bit that I make cleaner is giving me more energy. And so by the time my kitchen is spick and span, then I'm able to go do something like record a video or go do groceries or something that I need to do, but I didn't have the energy to do beforehand. Stress stuff. Stress I can handle a lot better. One thing that just really is good for stress for me is coffee. And that sounds counterproductive because you like, oh, caffeine, that's going to make your stress levels raise. And it probably, drinking a hot liquid, like not tea, I need like substance to it. I need it to be thick, creamy, hot liquid. So like if I absolutely cannot add caffeine to my situation, hot chocolate works. But just like that rich warmth makes me feel so good inside. Like it's just like a hug from inside my tummy. Another self-care in response to stress is Pokemon. The Pokemon video games, they're very wholesome and very uplifting, and it's all about friendship, and you get to explore and find cute animals, you know? And so just like breaking away and just being like, okay, everything's gonna be happy for a half hour, dive into that game. And so that really helps me kind of reset and be able to deal with a stressful situation again, because I can just like turn off, and the most stressful thing that I'm encountering is if the Pokemon will be caught in the Pokeball or not. And that's honestly not a big deal. Obviously, first on my list is if I'm facing a problem that's causing me stress, I try to solve it, but that is not always possible, especially when it comes to generalized anxiety that can just kind of like eat you up inside when there's nothing you can do about a situation. So in the scenario that there is nothing I can actively do in a situation, that is when I turn to my witchy stuff. I don't expect other people to believe in magic or tarot or things like that, but doing a tarot reading and trying to see my situation through a lens that kind of gives me a hopeful look at the future helps my mind a lot. If burning a blue candle makes me calm down, then, you know, whether that's mental or metaphysical, it helps me, and that's all the magic I need. Distractions are also really good because sometimes, again, if you can't change a situation, one of the best things I can do for myself is just not think about it. So I've really started to get into video games as of late. Right now I'm playing through Breath of the Wild, which is just the best distraction ever because oh my god, you can go everywhere in that game and you could do anything, and there's no out of bounds. If you're like, oh, that's a pretty mountain, I want to get to the top of it, and then I do, and I feel accomplished somehow. But video games are a really good distraction for me because not only is it, you know, having me think about a world that is not the world that I'm living in, but there are also things that I can do to make myself feel accomplished. I can complete side quests or climb to the top of a mountain that I think is pretty. And, you know, it kind of gives me a little rush of endorphins that lower those stress levels and make me feel like I am capable. And for this, I'm talking specifically about trauma-based anxiety, like flashback-based, PTSD-based, and not generalized anxiety. Those are two very different things for me. There are different ways that I cope with that. Like sometimes I'll just stay in bed and hide under the covers, which is honestly not so much self-care as it is just kind of perpetuating my own fear. And we're trying to move past doing that. But one of the most effective things that I do to handle that kind of fear is take a hot bath. Just being able to soak in the warmth, and there's so many good sensory things that go along with that. The color of the water, the feel of the heat, I have the smell of whatever bath bomb or oil that I'm using. It's just, oh, it's pleasant. And focusing on that feeling is really great for just washing fears away and making me feel secure. Anxiety is one that's a little tougher for me, but the basic thing I go to, and this is like, I'm gonna have to explain this, but it's getting up and moving around. So, you know, there's the fight, flight, or freeze response to fear. Our response to trauma-based fear is freeze. Shut down, don't move. Sometimes we can't even talk. Like, it's just like hide, whatever. So, like, I'll start doing small things like walking around the apartment. You know, get off the couch, walk into the bathroom, wipe down the sink or something. Just like really, really tiny things to show that like I can move and I am safe, and that just reminds my mind and my body that we don't need to lock up. So it's not like, I guess that's more of a coping mechanism than a self-care, but that's kind of like the one big thing that I do in response to trauma-based fear. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, trauma-based fear, I also go into the Pokemon video games. The game is wholesome. Everything is safe. Everyone works together as a team. Like, friendship always wins in the end. The good guys are good and the bad guys are bad and there's no gray area. That is a good reset for me, I guess, when I need to come out of a flashback, just be like, focus on all the good, wholesome things in this game world, and then we'll get through it. All right, everybody, that is it for me. What are your coping skills? How do you deal with some of the harder stuff in life, like anxiety and stress and depression? Share your tips in the comments below. Gengar says, remember everyone, you are loved, you are valuable, and you are valid. All right, everybody, for real though, you are loved, you are loved, you are valuable, and you are valid, and you are valid. Never forget that. Have a great day. Bye! Bye! Before I sign off, I'd like to thank Lily and Elizabeth and all of our patrons for supporting our channel and helping us do what we do on a weekly basis. You guys are awesome. You make these videos possible. You help us create better content every day. Also, I want to remind you guys about the Entitled to Life conference in November in San Francisco, hosted by TWA Magazine. And if you can't attend in person, that's totally okay. You can get an e-ticket and watch the exclusive stream on Zoom. We're super excited to be there, and we can't wait to meet you.